Thanks for listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
This is Pharmacy Crossroads with your host, community pharmacy business veteran, the road trip guy, Bruce Nealand. Community pharmacy is at a crossroads. Pharmacy owners across the country are evolving their pharmacy businesses and making a bigger impact on their communities. Bruce talks with the most innovative community pharmacy owners, pharmacy industry experts, and people who are passionate about the business of pharmacy and its impact on community healthcare. Pharmacy Crossroads is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And now, here's our host, Bruce Nealand.
Well, hello, everybody, again. This is Bruce Nealand with another episode of Pharmacy Crossroads, and it just keeps getting better. I've made a couple friends over the years. Shane Reeves, 15 years ago when I visited your pharmacy there in Tennessee. And Jay and I have been LinkedIn friends for 4 or 5 years. I have Shane Reeves, Senator Shane Reeves, senator from the great state of Tennessee, and Jay Phipps, immediate past president, or probably the second immediate past president of the Tennessee Pharmacist Association and a pharmacy gladiator extraordinaire. And we're going to talk to these two guys today about how pharmacy owners, and frankly, I really am on a pet project to get more vendor companies who depend on community pharmacy to get involved in advocacy programs. So, Jay, you take just a minute and tell us who you are, and then Shane, you just jump in when he stops.
First of all, Bruce, thank you for being here. It really is an honor to be on this podcast with two pharmacy gladiators like you and Shane. I am a independent community pharmacist with locations in Middle and West Tennessee. As we record this, I have 5 locations. I have 1 in Middle, 3 in West Tennessee, and then 1 in South Haven, Mississippi. By the time that this is released, I will be an independent owner of 4, primarily because of, in my opinion, the Mississippi has not had as proactive of PBM reform and Practice Act expansion as we have in Tennessee, and struggling in that location in the process of selling that. So I'm passionate about this. It really affects our patients, our profession, and myself. And so this is really a key time that we're recording this, because literally going through what many other people are struggling with now in pharmacy practice. I said I'd never be the old guy that complained that we never made money, but there are locations in which you cannot be profitable. And I've seen that firsthand from what Shane and our legislators have done in Tennessee. They've really brought us community pharmacy to the forefront, which I really do appreciate. And it's paramount that we're proactive now with the profession in legislature and in advocacy.
Shane?
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate you letting me be on your show. And Jay, always good to see you, my friend. You truly are a champion for the profession as well. So honored to be on the show with you as well. I'm a multi-generation pharmacist out of Middle Tennessee. My dad was a pharmacist. His dad was a pharmacist. His dad was a pharmacist. Many, many, many years of pharmacy in Middle Tennessee. I've been a pharmacist myself for 30 years. Have done a little bit of everything along the way. I've done retail pharmacy, long-term care, infusion, medical equipment, respiratory, specialty, you name it. The most recent iteration of my company is a company called 12 Stone, and we're specifically focusing on IV therapy for patients with chronic, complex, and rare diseases like Crohn's disease, Lou Gehrig's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, cystic fibrosis, and people come into infusion centers that we own and get IVs. So I have 21 locations, have 8 in Tennessee, 6 in Georgia, 5 in Virginia, 2 in Kentucky, and been a fun ride. Very, very blessed. And like you said on the side, I lost my mind. I ran for Senate somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But deep down, I'm still very much of a clinician, and very much want to see people like Jay Phipps win, and make sure I'm doing my part in Nashville to make that happen.
Well, and thank you for that. And just on a personal note, I met you and Rick, your partner, 2008 on my first road trip, and had a chance to come back a couple times with some other work that I was doing, and marveled at the retail and institutional pharmacy that you guys had built there in Tennessee, and delighted to see you again. It's been a long time. So anyhow, today the subject is, how are we going to change the the regulatory and PBM business? And that's a multi-function thing. But with you too, Jay being absolutely instrumental in helping to bring some power to a legislative effort in Tennessee, and Shane, you being able to vote on it. I'd like to know, and Shane, I will start with you. If you can imagine yourself 20 years ago, and you were trying to figure out how to deal with politicians, what fears did you have, and how did you overcome those?
Well, I don't know if I had fears or not. I've always been pretty comfortable with it, but I think on the outside looking in, what I did not realize is the things that really probably don't work. And let me explain that to you. 20 years ago, if I had an issue with the Tennessee Pharmacists Association, don't get me wrong, this is totally bad, but just shooting an email over to the Senate office or calling and speaking to that legislative assistant in that office makes a difference. But I'm telling you, as a senator, there are thousands and thousands of emails coming in, and I'm a state senator.
Right.
So you can only imagine a U.S. senator. It's probably hundreds of thousands. And not only am I getting thousands of emails coming in and hundreds of phone calls, pharmacy is just a slice of what comes in the door for me. I've got calls coming in on education. I've got calls coming in on workforce, Department of Children's Services, TDOT, the prison systems. There's lots of things that are coming in the door. So what I didn't know back then was just going on the line and saying, I support this scope of practice change for the TPA, and firing it over, feeling like I had done my part. It's better than nothing. But I'm telling you, it really doesn't move the dial like some other things I hope we're going to talk about today from a relationship building.
Okay. Jay, that's your cue. Relationship building. How do you get to know these people? They're high and mighty and intimidating. How do you break through that?
Well, I'm going to start with, you talked about like what was Shane afraid of, 20 years ago. I think that real change occurs when the pain of the present is greater than the fear of the future. Sure. And so you have to overcome that fear, because there are people that are afraid to go to speak to these high and mighty people. And pharmacists, and this is a podcast because you can't see my air quotes with high and mighty, but they're regular people. They're pharmacists, they're farmers, they're car salesmen, they're insurance agents, they're they have other teachers, educators. And so I think we need to remember they are regular people, and they care about what happens in pharmacy, in education, in transportation. They really are there because they want to help and improve their state, their city, their state, their county, or the country. So I think that's important. And pharmacists are unique individuals. We're motivators, we're educators, we're storytellers. You come in the pharmacy and you're diabetic, so we motivate you on how to take care of yourself. We tell stories to be able to do that, and how do we get you to motivated and educated to take better care of yourself. In healthcare, it's the same thing when you talk to Senator Reeves or anybody else. It's telling stories, and they're welcome to see you, welcome to talk to you. I have ran into none in my time, 25 years of doing this, that somebody said, I don't want to take time to talk to you. They're always open. They may have a limited schedule, and you have to be mindful of that. And we can talk a little bit more about how those conversations occur, in my opinion. But I invite them to come see me in my pharmacy. I had Congressman Kustoff in my office yesterday, or day before yesterday, excuse me. Senator Blackburn's staff came by today, U.S. Senator Blackburn, because I sent him an email and said, hey, it's here. I actually sent Congressman Kustoff a text asking him to come. So It's really about developing those relationships, and the way to do that is not by email, in my opinion. I think you got to get in front of people and talk to them, visit them in their office, do Hill Day, invite them into the pharmacy. They want to know what's going on. They want to get in front of constituents, and because we are in front of so many of the people that elect them, and I think they care about the business that we have and the services we provide.
So you said Hill Day real quickly, but my experience is that's for the guy who's done nothing, and excuse me, guy means both ladies and gentlemen. For the guy who's done nothing in the past, my suggestion has always been go to the Hill Day, and there you are with other people, and they can show you the ropes. Is that good advice, or have you got better advice?
Well, absolutely, it's a good way to get your feet wet. But just again, know that every single profession in the entire state has a Hill Day.
Right.
You got a pharmacist Hill Day, followed by the librarian Hill Day, followed by the road construction Hill Day, followed by the bass fisherman Hill Day. I mean, I'm telling you, they all have got Hill Days.
Yeah.
And so it's important, but when we are in session, when we're actually serving, it is hair on fire. But as far as the people that will listen to you, absolutely. If you want to get a sense of what it looks like and feels like and how legislation is passed and to build relationships, you should go to the Hill Day. Because as a senator or as a House member, wherever these folks are located, everybody is pretty much so told you vote your conscience and you vote your district. So people are going to vote their district, but if they don't know you, they're going to just vote whoever's in their office last. So if you're in a senator's district or House member's district and you're looking to get your feet wet, absolutely go to Hill Day.
So then the next question is, that's the first step. The second step has to be getting to meet somebody in the office. And these district or senatorial offices are in the community, and you can get there, can't you?
Well, I think it varies. I mean, it's if you're talking about a U.S. senator.
No, I'm talking about a state senator.
Well, a state, I think the thing is, Bruce, there's 33 senators in the state of Tennessee, for instance.
Right.
And I would assume every state's going to be different. But in Tennessee, I would say every one of us have an office. Most of the time, those offices are where people work. I mean, if you want to come meet with me, I don't have a Senate office. I have a pharmacy and a conference room. You come meet with me here. You know,
okay.
I mean, so I have a friend of mine who's a banker. You go to meet with him at his bank. I have another friend of mine who's a farmer. You go sit with him on his front porch. So, I mean, you just, that's just what you do. But most of the time, you don't have a freestanding state Senate office in the district, just because it's in Tennessee. Again, every state's different. This is we are a part-time legislature. I mean, I'm there for 3.5 months, and then I work the rest of the year. So I don't need an office, full-time office here. I have an office in Nashville.
So, Jay, you talked about having a couple people come visit you yesterday and today. How did that happen?
It's really all about relationships. To me, the whole thing is about relationships, and they started because I'm active in local government. I'm a county commissioner, number one, and I think all politics are local. And you've got to know people, and started going to fundraisers and get-togethers. Started there. Went to NCPA fly-in and met with staff at those locations, and really, like Congressman Kustoff, I've got to know him because he has a picnic every year. And I make sure that I go, and then it's developing those relationships, and I do visits with legislators completely different than most. I think, at least the ones I've been with, is when he walked into the office this week, I didn't ask him. We didn't immediately start talking about pharmacy. I asked him how his kids were doing and his wife. I want to know what's going on in their life as a human. And if you develop that relationship, just like you do with a patient, it's really no different than dealing with a patient. The more you know about them and they know about you, the more trust they, as a pharmacist, your patients have in you, and then you have in the patient. It's really the same thing with legislators to me. You develop that relationship, And I've taken in the past 4 years, done 17 office visits with 125 students or so, and trying to mentor them. And it's interesting when they're with me versus other people that have led is I go in and ask my Representative Darby or John Stevens, my state senator, how they're doing. Ask Tandy how his girls are doing playing basketball at UT, and I asked John about his daughters playing tennis. And Brock Martin, another state rep, which is I've got a pharmacy in his district. We talk about his son and how it's going and how his chiropractic practice is going. And it's not because I do that because I want something from them. I do that because I care about them as an individual. And then that makes the communication about pharmacy easier. Now, sometimes you don't have lots of time with the legislators. Congressman Kustoff was in the pharmacy for about 40 minutes yesterday. And so it's fairly quick. You get done talking about families and asking how everybody's doing, and then you've got about 10 minutes sometimes to get the nuts and bolts in. But to me, it's essential to have that relationship. But they actually happen because I sent a text to their Congressman Kustoff's legislative aide, specifically that's in our district, and he and I chat back and forth as things are going on. And same thing with Senator Blackburn's office. And I had Representative Darby in my pharmacy probably 6 weeks ago now. Same deal. I shot him a text. He said, I'm at Disney. When I get back, I'll come see you. And he did. So it was, and most of the legislators that I see are open to be contacted. I don't know if they are for everyone. I would imagine if they're giving me their phone number, they're probably giving other people their phone number. But Buddy Carter visited TPA, and when we got done, he said, "Hey, here, do you want my cell phone number?"
Wow.
And and that's because honestly, Bruce, that conversation went because we spent all of lunch talking about his grandchildren.
That's fascinating to learn. So as I chat with your peers, I know there's two roadblocks that come up, and they all revolve around, what do I say when they come? But the bigger roadblock is, do I have to give them money? How do you handle the donation, the fundraising aspect of these visits? And Shane, I'm going to go to you because you're on both sides of this. So how does a pharmacist worry about, what do they do about donations?
Well, if you're running for office, you clearly need donors to help you, but I can tell you that no one has ever invited me to go to see anything, and I showed up with the intention of getting a check. You go because you represent the district and you want the people in your district to be successful. There are other opportunities in other ways where there are fundraisers. I mean, I have fundraisers in my district. People who are running for office will have fundraisers, and they'll let the word get out. And at that point in time, if somebody's so inclined to write a check, write a check. But I can't tell you time in my 6 years of doing this that I've been invited anywhere to come meet with some people to hear about what's going on within their profession, whatever it might be, and left there feeling like, well, I cannot believe they did not give me a check before I left.
See, I can't believe that's the answer, because we see pictures all the time of somebody visiting someplace, and they're, part of it is handing the guy a check. So it's not that crass. It's not that essential to give money. That's what I hear you saying.
No, and I mean, there are times that I get invited someplace because they want to give me a check. Now that's a different story.
Yeah,
I had a group of realtors here a week and a half or so ago here in Middle Tennessee that said, we'd like to invite you out to our offices and present you with a check for your campaign. I went out there, sat down with them, gave me a check, I got a picture made. Now that's a different story than a local banker friend of mine saying, we got 3 or 4 big problems going on in Tennessee right now. You got some time the next week to stop by and let me show you what's going on. So next time we're looking at legislation, you'll understand. That's totally different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we all need votes too. We all need volunteers. It doesn't have to be about money. We need influence. We need votes. We need volunteers. We need things other than just money to get elected. So just going to Jay's store and him walking me around, him walking Kustoff around and saying, this is Congressman Kustoff, and him meeting 10, 15, 20 people, that's a big deal too. Getting a picture made with him and his staff and letting him post it on Facebook that's showing he's connected. That's a big deal. One of the main reasons it's hard to beat an incumbent is because they do things like that and they build brand name and name ID and community presence. And it's not always about the check. It's just not.
Well, that's an aha moment. I'm glad to hear that. So, Jay, you're a pro, and you've, with the Tennessee Pharmacists Association, you guys have led the fight and accomplished something. I guess when somebody comes to your pharmacy, what do you talk about? And I'm going to bias this by saying my impression is that too many pharmacists make the mistake of immediately trying to show them the invoice where they're selling something below cost. And that may be part of it, but you got something better to suggest that they do?
Well, first, I'm going to confirm what Shane said. I've never had a legislator come, and I gave them a check at that time. I have donated to lots of legislators, but never at the time of a visit. So I'm going to confirm from my side that that's true as well. So I think it goes back to storytelling, and I think we need to focus on the future, not the frivolous. So when you focus on the future, not the frivolous, you're not getting in the weeds in the mess. And I think sometimes pharmacists want to do that. We want to get in there and dive in and start using all these big acronyms and words that if you're not Senator Shane Reeves and you're not a pharmacist with his experience, you don't know what they mean. And so I think you really have to simplify it. And I relate it to being a community pharmacist. If you have a new mom that comes to see you, her baby's sick, right? Comes in, what's an antibiotic? I promise you that Shane in his community days never talked about pharmacodynamics or pharmacokinetics or mechanism of action with this new mom. You wouldn't do that. It's impossible, right? That would be crazy to think that. Then why do we expect the same thing to happen when you get legislators in your pharmacy and you start talking about the equivalent of that in your pharmacy operations? So I think you find the simple things. You make it as simple as possible. You have your thoughts together of what you want to talk about. But first I take them on a tour. The location that Congressman Kustoff visited this week, we do long-term care, medical at home, we compound, we deliver. We have a 70-mile delivery zone for our packaging. And we looked at that and talked about the service that we provide. And that's where we spent, we talked about family. I took him on tour, showed him what we did, more than, and one of his staff members says, "Oh, there's the shot room. I come get my vaccines there." I mean, it's that kind of thing where, you're talking about, we're providing, preventative health services for patients. I think it's a lot to just showing them what we do. And then I'll be candid. I had an ask at the end, which is we've got to get PBM reform. I didn't get it all muddy. I didn't get into every claim. I just said, this is what's happening in community pharmacy. And it was about 3 minutes of the 40-minute visit, maybe 5 at the most. It was fairly minimal because I didn't want to get into all the weeds. And if you're not careful, you'll get in the weeds and they'll leave not knowing any more than when they first arrived. And so I really think it's simple. Think through it. They want to see what you do. We see hundreds, if not thousands of people a week, depending on your size of your pharmacy. Take advantage of that. They want to know what you're doing and how you service your patients and how you're improving patient care in the area. And then make sure you let them know what you need before they leave, if there's anything legislatively that you need them to work on. So,
Jay, one more question about that. What do you do to prepare? Are you worried about getting the mayor to come? Do you try to invite some key patients? How do you prepare for these visits? So
I'm fairly simple. I want I want one-on-one time with Senator Reeves. I don't want a herd of people there because I want to be able to converse with him about what's going on in my world. You know, you only get so much time with them. So I don't bring a lot of people in. Now, if we do a fundraiser, and I've been sponsors of fundraisers for people before, that's a different story. But when they're coming to do a pharmacy visit, it literally is no different than if Bruce Nealon walked in my pharmacy and I went, here's our over-the-counter section. Here's what we do here. Here's the services we provide. I try not to cloud the water too much. I want one-on-one time with the senator or representative, and I want to be able to show them what we do and how we do it. So I don't. I'm not a big fan of having a lot of people around. That's my personal opinion of how that I do visits. I mean, I'm sure other people do them different ways, but I think that's the primary. I could tell another story about Congressman Kustoff. 5 years ago, he came to visit our store 4 years ago, in Huntington. And he came in, and my son, which was a high school junior at the time, was there. He saw me. We spoke for a minute. He spoke to Sawyer, my 16-year-old at the time, for nearly 20 minutes of the visit. Now, I was thoroughly impressed that he cared enough about the future and the young people. But when you think you've only got a 30 or 40-minute visit, that took 20 minutes of that visit. So
that's
if you've got
20 minutes of relationship building. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And luckily that was my son that was there. So it was still relationship building. They were having great conversation, and I let it go because to me that was important for both of them, both the congressman and Sawyer. But the thing that you think about is, like, if you've got 10 people there, they're all going to want a couple of minutes of whoever's time. And I'd rather have that time to myself. I'm rarely selfish, but that is one of those times I want to be selfish. And I want all of Shane Reeves' attention when he's in my pharmacy. I don't want anybody else borrowing from that time. They can go to the next business next and have their opportunity there. I'd be interested to see what Shane says about that, see what he thinks.
Well, Shane, you'll kind of pick up on that, and then we're going to run out of time here pretty quick. So I want your impassioned plea for other pharmacy owners to get involved in doing this kind of stuff. So what do you expect to see, and how do you get more pharmacy owners to do this?
Well, I can say this, it's all math. You look at the relationship he's got with Kustoff. We have 435 House members in Washington. We have 100 U.S. Senate members in Washington. We have 535 people that are making the laws of the country. If there were 270 J Phipps out there, that were building relationships, and they could say we need to pass PBM reform, it would change the profession. All you need is 270. You need 270 J Phipps. You need them in Tennessee, and you need them in Vermont. You need them in California, New York, and Georgia, and Florida. That's all we need. And to take that effort, pass legislation, rally behind it, and pass it and get it signed, and it changes our profession. Yeah. That's all we need. It's not like we need 25,000. We need 270 J Phipps that's out there that's willing to take the time to build a relationship, go on the tours, show them the value they provide in the community. And as I love the way Jay did that, and at the very, very end, say, all that being said, there's a threat that we're facing. And I want to keep doing this for many years. And that threat is this insurance situation I'm dealing with, PBMs. They may not know what a PBM is, by the way. I mean, As he talked about acronyms, most people don't know what PBMs and AWPs and DIRs are. PBMs, it's like this Optum or this Caremark card, and they control my margins. They control the formulary. They control everything. And we need some reform to ensure that we can continue to make a living and they can provide the value that they do provide. And I need your help. I guarantee you, if PBM reform came before Congressman Kustoff's office and Jay Phipps called him, there's no question about it. He's going to vote with Jay all day long. He's going to vote with Jay. And so just don't underestimate those local relationships. Please don't. And also don't underestimate the power of state legislators.
Right.
I mean, we can work all day long to get things done on a federal level, but my approach recently has been, let's do everything we can to shake it up as much as we possibly can in Tennessee. And we've done some things. We need to do a lot more. But if you keep moving the dial in Tennessee and moving the dial in Tennessee and other states, eventually the swell will happen on a federal level as well.
Well, thank you for that, Jay. You get the final word. I always get the final word, but give me your plea to your peers to do something.
Well, advocacy is not about you or it's not about me. It's about the legacy we leave. So we need that legacy, and we need to be advocates for the profession. And Senator Reeves is absolutely right. Last year we had scope of practice expansion in Tennessee for pharmacists, and I text my representative Tandy Darby the morning of the vote and said, "Tandy, we need your vote on this." And he got, "I've got you." That's it. You know somebody well enough to know that they're on your side, and it really is about relationships. And we can have all this fear, and we can be afraid to approach somebody, but we need to advocate for our profession. If pharmacists need to protect the profession, and the profession then will protect the patients. So to me, it's fairly simple. But we have to be advocates. We can't sit back. We sat back for too many years and let people dictate what we do. And I agree with Shane 100% that advocacy is important on the national level. It's easier, in my opinion, to move the needle at the local level, at the state level. And if we get enough momentum, we've had PBM reform in Tennessee, we've had scope of practice reform in Tennessee in the last, so those have happened back-to-back years, and we're making progress. Pharmacists can independently prescribe multiple therapeutics now because of scope of practice reform. So I think it's essential that we're advocating for the profession. So just remember, it's not about you and it's not about me. It's really about that legacy that we're going to leave as advocates, and the profession of pharmacy will be better. And if we remain relentless, this group of pharmacy gladiators can continue for eternity.
Well, and God bless you both. And I'm proud to call you friends. And I'll make one closing comment. You don't make longtime friends in one day. So the time to start, if you haven't started, is now. And it matters. I've often said that the PBMs have the money, but we have the people, we have the relationships, and it's the people who vote. So we need to be known and visible and be able to be called by our state and federal legislators, and that happens. The good news is I know dozens of pharmacy owners who are doing it. It can be done, and you two have proved it. So thank you both. I wish you the best, and I'm going to close out now by saying this is Bruce Nealand with another episode of Pharmacy.
Thanks for listening to Pharmacy Crossroads. If you're interested in talking with Bruce, please contact the show. Visit pharmacycrossroads.com. We look forward to hearing from you.